If you're thinking about moving to Colorado and potentially buying a house, these are 5 key things you need to know before moving. Now, I was able to create this list based off of moving here several years ago, and these are the things that I'm realizing I wish I knew before we moved. Now, you really want to stay tuned to number 5 because this is a big one and it can actually affect your wallet in the long run. Hey, my name is Tyler Norris and I'm a local realtor out here in Colorado. I make videos like this every week talking about market updates, top neighborhoods to live, and everything else in between. So if this is your first time visiting my channel, make sure you like and subscribe and make sure you stay up to date with all my videos. So let's get into these top 5 things that you need to know before you move. First one on the list is HOAs. Now, HOAs in Maryland weren't that common, so this was a big surprise to me when we were starting to look for our own house and then helping people over the last several years find houses. I'm realizing that most of Colorado neighborhoods have HOAs, especially the newer construction properties. So let's go over some pros and cons when it comes to HOAs. So first, let's get into the pros. There are some HOAs that have really good amenities like pools, clubhouses, and different things like that, parks and playgrounds within the neighborhood that your HOA provides based on what you are paying monthly. Also, they might and most likely will take care and maintain the exterior of your neighborhood. So shoveling sidewalks, maintaining the parks, maintaining the clubhouse, all that kind of stuff, which is a huge bonus. You might even have trash included, water, and just make sure you just read your HOA documents when you get it and make sure you really fully understand what they provide. Also, in most townhouse communities and HOAs will cover the exterior maintenance, so roofs and siding and stuff like that. So that is a big plus. Now, some cons when it comes to HOAs. Well, they can be really strict. They can make sure you are keeping your grass green, there can be strict on what color paint you paint your house, and different things like that, which could be a good thing because that makes sure your neighborhood is staying up to date and clean, but also can be a negative if you don't really feel like dealing with so many restrictions and having to ask for anything that you do for the exterior of the house. Also, a con is there is a monthly payment. Now, I've seen everything from $50 to $520 for a monthly payment when it comes to HOAs. So this can be another thing you need to pay attention to when you are pricing out how much is it going to cost you monthly to live in Colorado. So HOAs can be a big factor there. So HOAs do have its perks, but they also have some negatives to it too. So if you really don't want an HOA, I would start looking in older neighborhoods in Colorado. We actually found one in Lone Tree that we don't have an HOA, so we do not have to pay any monthly fees when it comes to living in this neighborhood. So something to think about when you're moving here because it can change your wallet and how much you're spending a month. Next on our list is the school system. Now, we all know that the school system can be really important when you're buying a house because when you go to resale, people are going to be looking at what schools you are in and making sure that that fits their needs. So that's one thing to think about. But with Colorado's school system, it's something you're going to want to look into because it's a little different from, especially Maryland, where we came from. In Maryland, you would have to move if you wanted to get into a different public school or pay for a private school. Here we have something called charter schools. Charter schools are basically a private public school where it is free, but it is a private school where you would have to actually apply to get into, maybe get on a waiting list, and it can be very competitive. So you might want to plan early on where you want to go and get on the list before you even move here if that's something that really concerns you, just so you make sure you get into the correct school. Now, you want to take a look at the neighborhood schools and making sure when you get into the neighborhood, you want to go to that neighborhood school in case you can't get into one of those charter schools right away. But the charter schools are a really cool option and opportunity for you to be able to get your kids into the school that you want. Number 3 on our list is swamp coolers. Now, swamp coolers might not be something you're familiar with, especially if you're coming from a place that's a little bit more humid. So like Florida, Maryland, South Carolina, Texas, any of those places that has a lot of humidity compared to a place like Arizona or Colorado where it's very dry. So swamp coolers, what are they? A lot of buyers aren't familiar with these and they need to be explained. So, and it's something that we didn't even know, and we bought a house with a swamp cooler. So a swamp cooler is a way to cool your house. It it's all based off of water and humidity. Since it's so dry out here, you can use something like this here, where it won't be too humid in your house because it is so dry. So how this works is water gets pulled into your swamp cooler and goes down this mesh membrane along the sides where it cools the membrane, and then it has a fan that brings in the hot air, cooling the air through that membrane that is being wet, and then brings it into your house and then cools your house down. Now, what's great about these things? Well, swamp coolers are a lot more affordable to use compared to an AC unit, but they cannot work as efficient as a AC unit. So there's some pros and cons to it. You're seeing less and less of these being installed, especially in newer. People are going to AC units. For us, we tried to use the swamp cooler at first, and we did not last long. I think it was like 3 to 4 months in, we went and actually had to get a AC unit installed, and it is much better out here with the AC unit than a swamp cooler for our family. So it's something to look at and think about when you're looking at houses. Make sure you look on what the cooling system is. You might see evaporating system or swamp cooler, same thing, but it's something to think about because that could be a heavy cost when you go to buy if you need to add an AC unit, which can range from anywhere from $5 to $10 to $12,000. So something to think about when you are looking at houses and thinking about moving. Number 4, I've talked about this a lot, but I just want to make sure you really understand that yards are smaller out here. Now, we're seeing this more in newer construction homes compared to older homes. Like our house is built in the 70s. We have a bigger lot, almost a half acre, compared to a lot of these homes, which are really small lots where you might just have a little plot of land and not much more, because there's a specific reason why Colorado is doing this. They want to put the houses a little closer together so they can save the land for parks and open spaces, which could be a huge pro, and is a huge pro because that means you get to use these really well-maintained parks and playgrounds and open spaces to walk your dogs, play with your kids, and just have a good time. But it leaves you with a smaller yard. So this is something, if you are really wanting something that has a bigger yard, you might want to look at an older neighborhood again to get maybe that bigger lot, or you might have to move a little further away from Denver to get something that has a little bit more land, like somewhere in Elizabeth could be a good option for you, where they have a little bit more property compared to some of these places in like Parker and Highlands Ranch where they're building new neighborhoods. So something to think about, but it is a good thing because you should check out some of these parks and open spaces, because for us, it seemed like the best park in Maryland or playground in Maryland was like the worst park in Colorado. So it is really good, and they do really well with their playgrounds and parks, and a lot of opportunities for families to go out and have fun and enjoy the sun and Colorado weather. All right, number 5 on our list is really going to affect your wallet. Now, this is something you really need to pay attention to, and this is something that's recently starting to change and become harder and harder to deal with. And this is insurance companies based off of your roof. So you really want to pay attention to the age of the roof when you go to buy. Now, if your roof is an older roof, mainly older than 10 years, you're going to notice that your insurance premium is going to be much higher, and you might even have a different insurance claim or rule, whatever you want to call it, based off of your roof. It's called like a depreciation claim on your roof. So if it's older, you might not get and you have to replace it, you might not get the full value of the roof to get it replaced when you go to file that claim. So you might be coming out of pocket to get a new roof. So really pay attention to this line item. My buddy who's a roofer, and they deal with this constantly, he was explaining it to me, and I'm going to put his information below just in case you want to reach out and ask him some questions. He's a great guy, very trustworthy contractor, and someone that can help navigate that and maybe even help you get your roof inspected when you're going to buy a house. So I'll leave his information below. But to give you a really good example of what this really looks like and how this affects your homeowner's policy is, we tried to change our insurance, and when we went to go change it, they thought our roof was 10 years old or even older, and they gave us a annual premium of $4,700 a year for the homeowner's insurance. When I was able to correct them and tell them, hey, our roof is actually 5 years old, it dropped it all the way down to $3,300. So it shows that the age of your roof is really going to affect your wallet. Also, something else to think about is you're going to want to have a level 4 shingle on your roof. So even if you're buying or you're thinking about replacing your roof, a level 4 shingle is also going to help the cost effect of your homeowner's insurance. They're going to give you a break because you have a level 4 shingle, which is going to be a little bit more hail resistant, so you won't be having to file a claim every time we have a hailstorm out here in Colorado. So something to think about when you are buying or replacing your roof. Also, when it comes to selling your house, you want to make sure if you have a newer roof, your realtor is making sure they're putting that in the comments. That is something to promote because of the insurance and how hard it is to get insurance in certain locations out here in Colorado. We are starting to see that we're following suit to California a little bit. If you're closer to the foothills, it's getting harder and harder to actually get insurance. So just something you really want to look at. There is an actual deadline within your contract when you're buying real estate that is says property insurance deadline. So if you need to, you want to make sure you have that figured out and how much that's going to be, because that could be an out on getting out of a contract if you're realizing your insurance is going to be way too high and not help your monthly budget. So something to think about. If you have more questions about that, feel free to reach out, or feel free to reach out to my friend Rich, who can help you and works for the roofing company that can help you navigate that stuff and answer a lot of questions when it comes to roofs and insurance. So there it is. Those are my 5 key takeaways and things you need to know before moving or buying in Colorado. Now, this list again was created over the last several years since I've moved here and from the East Coast, and also have helped multiple people move here. So if you are thinking about moving here and you would like to start a conversation, feel free to sign up below. In my calendar invite, you can take a look, sign up for a time that works for you, and we can have a 30-minute one-on-one meeting and talk about everything when it comes to real estate. Also, maybe there's something I missed on this list that I need to know, and maybe I can put in another video. And why don't you leave a comment saying, hey, this is something I wish I knew based off of moving to Colorado. So I encourage you to toss that in the comments. If you want to have a conversation, feel free to reach out. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that notification and like button so you stay up to date with all my videos.